founder, right? Yes. And then we all know and love him. Fred Wellman, the CEO and founder of ScoutComms, and we want to thank ScoutComms so much for being such an active part of this and for sponsoring with us. So we're thrilled to have the three of them. And I'm just going to leave with that because I want to get you guys asking as many questions as possible. The girls here have a mic, so if you'll just stand up, let them bring it to you so everyone can hear your question. When you have it, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks, guys.
My mic on? Is it working? Okay, good. So, hey, my name is Paul Szoldra. I'm the founder, CEO of Duffel Media. You probably don't know what the hell that is. It's the parent company of Duffel Blog, so hopefully you know what that is. Yeah. Has anybody heard of this site? I don't know. It's kind of small. Might have not, you know. But anyway, Duffel Blog, it's the greatest military website on the planet. Yes, I said it. And, nowadays I run Duffel, full-time and, work with companies looking to advertise on Duffel Blog, Terminal Lance, also launching a new military news website here in the next couple of months. And I'm the co-host of After Action with Max and Paul. If you haven't heard that, it's a cool new podcast with my friend Max. And besides that, I've worked as a journalist for about 5+ years. So I used to work at Business Insider. I was a military reporter. I was the West Coast editor. I was a correspondent. And most recently, I was the military and defense editor over there. Also was at We Are the Mighty as the executive editor. So I kind of have a unique experience where I have been quoted in the press as just some guy and also been on the receiving end of all those pitches. And so what I wanted to do with this session is kind of help you if you're looking to get national press exposure, even local, stuff like that. We are hoping to give you tactical steps, not strategy, higher level things, but tools and all these things that you can hopefully leave here today and go out there and get yourself or your blog or whatever you're working on, press exposure. And so I am joined, obviously, by Fred Wellman. He is an Army officer. He has promised not to give any officer speeches today, so please keep him to his word. Now he's a PR guy, of course, with ScoutComms. And then we have Lakesha Cole, who is with the Mill Spouse Retail Coach, among other things. And so with that, I'll let Lakesha kind of give herself an intro to what she does, and then Fred will do that, and then we'll kind of move into it.
Hi, I am Lakesha Cole. I am a mom of 3. I have a 12-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I'm a Marine spouse of 15 years. My husband's retiring next summer. I've gained a reputation in the military spouse community as the retail coach, where I teach spouses how to take a simple idea into conception and really coach them on how to implement all of the ideas they tend to sit on. I own She Swank Too, which is a curated fashion brand for girls. I once had a customer send me flowers to thank me for not encouraging her daughters to dress like Kim Kardashian. So we really take great pride in curating selections that really embrace the innocence and fun of childhood. We opened a brick and mortar shop about 1 year ago in Jacksonville, North Carolina. About a month ago, we renovated our space because we really wanted to create something in our community that inspired the locals to shop small and to support community brands. So now we are the She Swank Marketplace, where we are the only community building marketplace in Jacksonville, North Carolina that support and sell independent, local, military spouse, and veteran brands only. So.
Wow, okay. I'm like the piker of this group. So Fred Wellman, I'm the CEO and founder of ScoutComms. I think you've heard a little bit about ScoutComms already. So why this panel for media relations? So I was a pilot like 13 years ago, and I ended up on TV a lot with the 101st Airborne. One day I made the anchor on CNN cry when I told a story. So General Petraeus, being him, said, "Oh my God, you should be a PAO." I'm like, "Great, what's a PAO?" I didn't know. It sounds like a cool job. And knowing aviation, I knew that actually helicopter pilot wasn't a usable job skill, which is, it actually isn't. So being a smart guy, I said, "Oh, that sounds like a usable job skill." So PR guy I became. I had the good fortune to be General Petraeus' spokesman of the 101st Airborne Division, then Iraq. General Dempsey went on to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Somehow I didn't destroy his career. Not for lack of trying. Destroyed my own instead. And went to grad school for a year, went back to Iraq because I just loved the food. The kebabs are the best. I do love kebab. And
Oh, they're great.
it was good, yeah. So did that. I retired out of the Army, and I got a job in a small communications firm in Manassas, Virginia. We did a study about 3 years ago with one of our clients, and we found that 45% of veterans leave their first job within a year. I was the 45%. I actually got fired. It was awesome. Well, I quit. Depends who you talk to. If you talk to me, I quit. So I couldn't get a job. So I started a company, right? And ScoutComms was born in my basement. And at the heart of it, we were a public relations firm that is a storyteller, that is focused on the veteran and military family community exclusively, so you know who to tell your story to. And that kind of goes to the heart of this conversation, right? What is your story? How do you appeal that to the media and tell it effectively? And I'll flip it over to Paul. I'm not supposed to give an officer speech. No,
It's okay.
I was getting ready to. I don't know what that means.
It's okay. I know you can't help
Because he
it.
freaking talked longer than I did. But we digress. So this is, I'll go with the closing on this, so a little introduction of what we got here. This is unscripted, if you didn't get that feeling already. It's been, this has been so intense. It's been like 43 and a half minutes of talking and a minute of questions. Paul came to me with this idea. I said, look, Duffel blog guy, you got to bring the funny. He didn't want to do that. He said, "No, man.
Funny.
I've been doing this reporter thing for a long time.
I'm a writer.
I get a lot of bad pitches, and so we thought to close this thing out, we really do want this to be interactive. The majority of this is going to be asking you questions. You're solving your problems and giving the best. We literally all have a list of tips and techniques, and that's the intent here, is for you to walk away with a couple of pages in your notebook full of some ideas of what to do, what not to do, from some of the rough road that we've ridden to get to this point. So with that, you're the boss. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, you
so
had
I guess
some
we'll
tips,
start
right?
with kind of tools, tactics, and me and Lakesha can kind of go back and forth. But I kind of got a list here of stuff that I would recommend. So if you're sitting there and you have whatever it is, whether you have a blog, your product, service, whatever that might be, and you're sitting there and you're like, how the hell do I get press coverage, which is kind of daunting. There's a couple of things that I would totally recommend. Starting with, this is star on the list. I would definitely read this book. It's called Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. And this guy used to be at American Apparel, and he basically wrote this book on this. It's like this talk. It's basically will tell you the steps you can take to really just get media exposure for $0 or very cheap. So it's super great. One example from his book that he talks about is American Apparel is he basically, I think he tagged a wall in Los Angeles, like graffiti or something, or paid someone to do it. And then he went over there and snapped a picture. It was like American Apparel sucks or something like that, like some graffiti. Snapped a picture, sent it to some low-level blogger who's kind of influential in the fashion space. And these blogs kind of work as feeders to larger outlets. And so after a very short time, this controversial graffiti from American Apparel blew up all over the national news, and then he's getting all this free press coverage. Is it ethical? I don't know. But if you want to get press coverage, hey, that's one possible thing. So the other thing I would recommend is there's a website called Help a Reporter Out. So there's two different types of kind of going after media coverage. There's one where it's like you launch a product and you're trying to get this, launch big thing going on. The other thing is trying to develop yourself as an influencer, a person to be quoted in the media. You should have different strategies for those. So Help a Reporter Out is really good because it's helpareporter.com, and you can sign up as a source, and reporters literally log in and put what they're looking for. Like, I need to interview a veteran entrepreneur. And you get emails, and if you see something that you might be able to quote or give a talk to them on, you can email them directly and set up an interview, and then they'll talk to you. Maybe you'll get quoted, and then they'll link to your website. It's a really great tool. A lot of journalists use it. And then the other one is Muckrack. So another thing that's a big problem in the PR world, I'm sure Fred can talk about this quite a bit, it is these spamming journalists, like everybody on this gigantic list. You're not strategic at all. You're just, sending out a press release. So it's really important to learn who the journalists are that would actually write about your product. If you're writing about veteran issues and then you're sending it to some person who covers entertainment world, you're not going to get anything out of that. It's really a waste of your time. So Muck Rack is a tool, and I think you have to pay for it, but you can see what journalists cover and like what their coverage areas are and get their contact info and all that stuff. I got more, but I don't want to monopolize the time, so I'm going to go to Lakesha. What do you have for tools, tactics? Go.
Go. All right. So I've appeared on the Today Show, Fox and Friends, featured by Black Enterprise, Ebony, and the list goes on. And I didn't pay for any of it, right? So one of the things that I like to tell my friends and fellow business owners is to create your PR toolkit. So in your PR toolkit, you're going to have something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. Sounds familiar, right? So something old, the traditional PR tool. So I don't particularly think that press releases are completely dead. It's one of the most traditional used, and it's mostly free. So when used correctly, it can really grab the attention of the media, and sometimes the press release can really do the job for you, or for them, rather. So when you submit a press release, you want to make sure that you're including news nuggets in it that they can sort of create some sort of workable story for whatever it is you're trying to get coverage for. So something new. You want to utilize the tools of the digital age. Now, most reporters are on really, really tight deadlines. So if I was to go to your website, how easy can I get in contact with you, right? So when I go to your website, I don't want to go to a contact form and put in my information and wait hours and hours for you to get back to me. So you want to make it as easy as possible. You want to make sure that you have your email address. Some people put their phone number on their website. You want to have all your social media accounts so that that reporter can reach you when they need you.
Can I interrupt you for just a second,
Yes.
just to add something? Reporters are super lazy.
Yes.
So put the email address prominent, make your brand, like if you've been quoted elsewhere, as seen in the New York Times, all this other stuff, you could parlay that to more. But put your email really high up, or how to contact you, and as soon as you get an email from a reporter, immediately respond. Do not wait. You're like, yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you. Here's my number. Call me right away. Because like I said, reporters are lazy, and if we find the first one, we're like, okay, great, that sounds good. As long as you're legit enough, then you will be the first to actually get the contact. So.
Right. And if you have space in your website, include a section for media resources, and make sure you include topics of expertise, relevant statistics for your industry, links to any media you have done, along with any related content you may have written for your blog or someone else's blog, and make sure you include your bio, the short version of your bio. Something borrowed. So the blogger network. Bloggers work to establish credibility online day in and day out. So maybe you can find a blogger that's relatable to whatever it is that you're trying to do. Work out a deal where you're creating highly shareable content for that blogger and borrow their followers, right? That's what they're there for. And then something blue, social media engagement. 45% of online followers will unfollow a brand on social because of too much self-promotion. So try to avoid establishing, try to avoid this by establishing an engagement strategy that resembles two-way communication.
Love it. Yeah, following on what they said, contact forms are terrible. That there's nothing I hate more as a PR guy or a journalist than I go to your website and I want to get hold of you real quick because we've got a reporter. So one of the things we get a lot at ScoutComms we're real proud of is reporters will just call us. I was at a bar in Fredericksburg, and a reporter from AP in Oregon wanted to talk to a service member, a veteran who had been kicked out under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Great, I know exactly where to go. And luckily I have Steven's email, and I contact him. If I know you're that expert, and I go to your website to get your email, your phone number, and you got one of those stupid web forms to fill out, I'm done. I'm leaving you behind. If that's I know everybody's worried about getting spammed, and they're gonna steal your, I got it, but I'm telling you right now, if I have to fill out one of those anonymous freaking web forms and hope you get hold of me, forget it, we're moving on.
So just to add to that, on Duffel Blog, I have a contact form. However,
and we're updating ScoutComms website right now.
People. Okay, so Duffel Blog has a contact form because I get emails all the time. However, right by the contact form it says, if you're a member of the media, click here.
Right.
And that goes to a separate media page. It's got a media kit with like pictures of me and the backstory of Duffel Blog and email address, very prominent. So you can get rid of the spam stuff with the contact form. That's totally fine as long as you have either media members, or send me an email at this address, or you have a separate media kit. And that's something we don't really need to go into. You can figure out how to do that. There's plenty of guides.
Yeah, and just for my notes too, so one of the things we talk about at ScoutComms a lot is we don't do PR for PR's sake. What's your goal, right? Figure that out. Too often I see a lot of influencers or business people, it's like, I need placements. We get that, okay, great. Some are better than others. I mean, some press is good, but sometimes you're just wasting your time, you're wasting reporters' time, and you'll burn your reporters out. I always tell people the thing about media relations is the first thing we tell people is, I'm out of camera range, sorry. The second word is key in media relations. Relations, okay? Public relations, relations. So, I'm in Fredericksburg, Virginia. My wife owns a store in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Every time we get a new business reporter at the Fredericksburg FLS newspaper, I email her and I say, let's do coffee. And I don't have a story for her, but I want that business reporter to know who the heck we are. And I take her out for coffee in one of our 3 wonderful coffee shops about 3 blocks from our office, and we have coffee. And then when the editor of the FLS is the vice president of the Women's Journalism Organization for Virginia, by golly, I gave her a donation. And gosh, what do you know? We get featured in the business section of that paper all the time because it's relations. And when I'm on the West Coast, what do, Paul? We meet for lunch. And as my employees go around the country and do things, we find out who the reporters are that cut Drew Brooks at Fort Bragg, right? Almost every time one of my employees is down at Fort Bragg, we visit Drew Brooks, the military editor for the Observer, because I have a relationship with him. And if you want to get a good tip for the media is, if they know you before you call for a favor or call for a placement, you're gonna have a better time because they know you're not just using them. And then the second part of that is be a source. Like I said, with ScoutComms, I'm very proud of the fact many reporters call us, and we help them regardless if it's one of my clients or not, because we know a lot of people in this community who can say, you know what, we know a lady that does that. And next time I call them, it's human, it's interaction. Hey, he hooked me up. This isn't my usual thing, Fred, but you know what? You got it. We'll do that. I got some free time. Relationships are so important. So figure out what your little niche is. If it's a local business like at Jack's, know those reporters. You should know them in and out. There's no excuse for not knowing your local reporters.
Okay, so who has a blog? Lots of people. Okay, so that's good. Here's an interesting note. You can get free press, semi-press. You can get your blog published on a whole bunch of news sites for free. So there's a lot of content on the web that is actually syndicated. Most people don't understand this. Most people don't see, like, if you go to Business Insider, you click an article, nobody cares about the byline, nobody cares about who the reporter is, where it came from, but a lot of stuff on Business Insider is syndicated from elsewhere, blogs, from other news sites. It's sharing of traffic. So what's great about that is if you have a blog, and you're in a niche area, for example, like when I was the military defense editor, we syndicated stuff from Task and Purpose. We syndicated stuff from smaller blogs like The Aviationist is this aviation blog that's super popular with AV geeks. And so if we see something cool or they email us and say, hey, we just published this really cool thing about the F-35, we'll put that up and we just copy and paste the content. It's on our site. It says, by the author from The Aviationist at the top of the byline, and then at the bottom of the article, it has 5 related links. So you're getting your stuff on a website from a news organization. You're also getting free traffic because a lot of people get to the end and they're like, oh, what else you got? So Business Insider does this. We Are the Mighty does this. Military website, military entertainment. Task and Purpose does this. Military.com, they do this. I believe Spouse Buzz or some Spouse Buzz. Spouse Buzz does this as well. Yes, thank you. Yeah. And then USMC Life as well. Okay, so there's a lot of options out there. It's super easy to do. And then the other thing you can do too is contribute your stuff. So instead of being syndicated, you can contribute, you can write stuff for other places with your little bio at the end that says, I am so-and-so, here's what I do, click here for my website. There's Huffington Post, that's like the #1 place for contributed content. You've got fastcompanyinc.com if you're business centric. These are all good places to do that. And it's just all about finding them and reaching out, and it's pretty easy to do.
Cool.
Oh, I'd like to add one other thing.
Of course you are.
Anybody, I know. Anybody heard of New York Times at War?
Oh, At War's coming back.
It's coming back. So it's coming back next year. CJ Chivers is relaunching it with Tam Gibbons-Neff. And they are actively looking for contributors to write about, veterans issues, war topics, all these kind of things. So if that's something that's you might be able to shine some light on, that's going to be a really good place to get free traffic, and you're establishing yourself as a influencer.
And Checkpoint.
Yes, we got a question back there.
That's what we want.
So I'm not a blogger, I'm a writer, and I get really confused by the secret language which says contributor. Does that mean that you're not going to pay for me to write articles for you?
That's correct.
Okay,
So there's a difference between a contributor and a freelancer.
Yes.
So if you're a freelance journalist or freelance writer, then you actually have to reach out to an editor and establish a relationship with them. They work it out, like we're going to pay you X amount of dollars per word and all that good stuff. If you're looking for that, that's more of like a journalism track. If you're looking for exposure, then yeah, you would go with the contributor, because I'm looking for exposure kind of thing. Not so great for a writer that wants to make money, but really good for somebody who actually has a site that needs traffic or whatever. So.
Or you get
Okay.
paid nothing. I'm a paid writer. I got $10 from Task and Purpose, I think. I'm pretty proud of that.
Right. Yeah, so I know that there's a difference, but I wanted to make sure that everybody else knew that there was a difference between, I'm writing a blog post and I want it to be seen by everybody versus I'm making a living writing. So thanks.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is, I would say, like, this talk is more geared towards people who are not really writers or, writing as a living. You're trying to, what your thing is, like what widget you're trying to sell or service or whatever. You're trying to get press exposure to get people to do that, to buy that product.
Go ahead.
So if you wanted to go to military.com and ask them to be a contributor, is that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So if you have something that you wanted to shop around and syndicate, how do you do that? What's the best approach?
So it's research. So you have to start off and find who the editors are, the writers are, who the decision makers are. Like after this, if you want to talk to me, I know the person you need to talk to at Business Insider. I know the person at Task and Purpose. I don't know everyone, but basically it's like a quick email. Reporters are human. Like it's just, hey, my name is so-and-so. I run this blog. Here's the name, and here's what we cover. We cover, veterans issues. We write about the GI Bill, whatever it might be. And I know you guys do syndication stuff on your website. Would you be interested in syndicating our stuff? And that's it. And they're going to say no or great, let's go for it. So.
And that kind of goes to a point I was making too, Twitter. So Twitter's a great, you can't beat Twitter for contacting people. Checkpoints, I found on Twitter, Checkpoint was hiring. Twitter's a great place to get your story. I got on Connecting Vets. So CBS Radio now is Connecting Vets, if everybody's familiar with that. We're covering this, as a matter of fact. They just tweet out. I literally was on Twitter at 11 o'clock at night, and Jared, who's no longer there, tweeted out, hey, I need veterans. And I tweeted it back, and I got an interview the next day. Same thing with Lauren Katzenberg at Task and Purpose. There's so much power in Twitter as a platform to reach folks. You have no idea. I can't emphasize enough how powerful Twitter has been for us as a media relations tool. You can tweet right at them, just look at their bio. Most reporters now will say, hey, hit me here or something like that. It's really, but we've had incredibly good luck with that, using Twitter to get a hold of these guys. It's a great platform.
I've checked my Twitter like 8 times during this talk.
Right, yeah.
I'm just kidding. But no, I check it all the time. And everyone who tweets at me, I'm looking and I know I can see who they are. So if you have a Twitter account, you should have a Twitter account if you really want to reach reporters. Please don't be an egg, the little Twitter profile photo. Yeah. I have a no egg policy. I don't respond because they're usually angry, So, be angry, but just have a profile photo. Yeah. So profile photo, fill out the bio, you know, like if I were to do me, it'd be like, my name's Paul Szoldra, I'm a U.S. Marine veteran, and I like to tweet about veterans issues and national security topics. And that way, like, because when somebody tweets at me and I see the notification, I will click over to their bio and I want to see who the heck they are, if they have a website, whatever. Yeah, so totally use Twitter.
Yeah, and I would even add links to some of your previous published works in that message too.
And follow, again, figure out the reporters that are in your space and then follow them all.
Yeah, follow Paul Szoldra.
Just follow them all.
At Paul Szoldra.
That guy's a big deal. It's really a big deal. But yeah, follow all those reporters. And
What? Boy, way to really put the speaker on the
wow. Hey, you wanted this
Lord.
format, brother. Oh, man.
All right, where's security?
Wow, it's getting loose here. All right, back to work. But I love Twitter for reaching, for getting your story. Twitter has been, and LinkedIn, by the way, but Twitter is such a powerful tool. I mean, we talk about it a lot for social media, but just for a tool for communications and reaching people you can't reach. There's just no other social network. You could just hit somebody up and say, hey, dude, you know, I mean, I tell the story often back when I was still in the Army, way back in 2009, early days of Twitter. Craig Newmark, you know, Craigslist tweeted out, hey, I'm looking for a veteran nonprofit to follow. I was a volunteer at Mission and Continues at the time. And I was like, hey, I tweeted back, hey, I got a good one. He goes, yeah, here's my email, which, by the way, if you know, is Craig at Craigslist.com. It's really easy. and he'll answer your freaking emails. And I've worked with I've done other projects now with Craig Newmark in the last 8 years because of a freaking tweet. It's a very powerful tool like that. So people ignore Twitter because, right now it's kind of angry. Not that I do that. Sorry about the cussing, by the way. If you follow me, I apologize. I always apologize for my cussing. But it's a very powerful tool for you as a communicator and as a storyteller and as pitching your businesses. You can't beat it.
So I think it's worth doing a thing on like what not to do. You know, we've already established that, like, okay, you can reach journalists and whatever and all that stuff, and you have options for that, but like what not to do. And by the way, these all come from things that have happened to me. Like, I get the worst PR pitches in the world, and the first one is getting the reporter's name wrong. Hi, Susan, I'd like to give you this press release. Well, I'm deleting that immediately. Email blast every reporter just without, you know, care. Like, it should be individualized for the certain reporter. If it's a veterans reporter, if you're looking for veterans issues, go with Leo Shane. If it's a military-specific topic, go with Dan Lamoth. Like, see what everybody's beat is, understand it, and then tailor the pitch to them. Lakesha said press releases are kind of dumb. I totally agree. Maybe Fred Wellman, Fred has some other, you know, idea of that. I don't know. What do you think of press releases?
Put myself out of business. There's still a place for press releases. There's still a place for press releases. It just depends on the tactics of it. I don't think, you agree, right?
No, I said press releases aren't totally
they're
dead.
not. Not totally dead. Oh, sorry.
No, how many of you subscribe to your local newspaper? Raise your hand. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, come on.
Not very many.
Support media.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your local editors and reporters, they're the biggest asset of your media strategy. They're surrounded by consumers all day, every day, the people that you want to reach. So there is a benefit in connecting with your local reporter. Like he said, introducing yourself, whether it's on Twitter, whether you send them a quick email, take them out for coffee, get to know them, get involved in the community. You want to be able to establish that relationship, build that network, and sort of establish yourself as that subject matter expert in your industry, in your community. So I still heavily rely on press releases, and they work for me.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, before we battle it out up here, I'll just say that.
I got a counter for you too.
Yeah. No. So I'll say that press releases don't hurt.
Okay.
But
however,
how I prefer to do things is to give you a short paragraph if you're a journalist, and I'm like, hey, journalist name, I'm launching this new book for Duffel Blog to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. It's a collection of our best articles ever. Here's the media kit. Would love to chat with you about it.
Yeah,
no press release, no nothing, just a paragraph. They get the gist of it, and then they can reach out.
So we describe it as a pitch. So a press release without a pitch is a waste of time for us, right? So especially if you're pitching a journalist himself. So what we'll do a press release because a client, so you gotta think I'm a client guy. And so I have clients and clients want press releases. So we'll do a press release and we'll get it right because it takes a few edits. You gotta get the quote from the client, you gotta get it all right, get an AP style, do that stuff, learn that stuff. There's templates online, learn the AP style. Why do you want to know the AP style? Because journalists are lazy. Journalists are freaking lazy, and local journalists are super freaking lazy. Because none of you subscribe to your local newspaper, they're running like chickens with their head cut off to cover every business of there's 150,000 people in my region. There's 2 business reporters. Okay, so we're really big. So if I write my press release, an AP style guide, so that all they can do is copy and paste, our local newspaper will print that as a staff report. Right? Why do I know? Go to Fredericksburg's paper and look up the 5th birthday of Lady Berg Bath and Body Apothecary, my wife's business. It was printed word for word in our local paper as a staff report because they're lazy. But hey, we got it in the press. So it's all about know your target. You know, a national reporter, no, but your local paper, you can't beat that, right? You just got to get it right. And you got to put your personal pages. So there. Now, putting a PR Newswire or NASDAQ Global Newswire. Okay, we're going to tell you a dirty secret of PR. I hope my fellow PR people here are going to be mad at me. It's crap, okay? I'm sorry. If you drop $1,000 on a press release, what's going to happen is they're going to spit out this report that shows your press release was published in 270 sites. Okay, it's a scam. I hate to tell you. The Sacramento Bee does not give a flying flip about your press release. It's a URL about this long, about as long as my arm, and it's buried in their website on page 4,675, and your PR firm is going to give you this great report with all the logos of all the PR, all the places that are placed. And it wasn't. And it's good for a little search engine optimization, but those rules are changing too. So I caution you on spending money on a Newswire press release, and that's your whole plan. You can do that, but don't make that your whole plan. And don't be fooled with the 270 hits you got. You did not get 270 hits. You did not get 270 hits. Yes, ma'am.
I might be messing this all up when I say it. Correct me. When you're talking about the SEO aspect of all of this syndicated guest posting, whatever, how can we approach that? Because it's my understanding that either Google will be changing or has changed the amount of sites and the types of sites that you're found on with your backlinks and all that.
Are you
stuff.
talking about press releases or syndication?
I'm talking about syndication.
So syndication, in pretty much every syndication agreement, the publisher is required to give you a canonical link.
Okay.
So there's no SEO takeaway.
Okay.
So they actually, like it's in the code, it's canonical rel, they have your original URL, so it tells Google and all the other search engines that the original piece of content is way the heck over here on your site. This is not the original piece, so it doesn't kill you on SEO. The press release thing actually used to be an SEO benefit, and then Google figured out that all these people were using it, and then they killed that. So if you think SEO by press release is working, it's not anymore. And okay, so I got 2 more kind of things that you should not do. Do not call a reporter, ever. Fred? I'm wondering. Well, he would probably call, I don't know if he's a caller, but like I get PR people that call you and like within 30 minutes, they sent you an email, 30 minutes later they're calling you and like, did you get my email? And then, yeah, and then like 45 minutes after that, they're like, did you get the email? Like it's like a crazy ex-girlfriend, it's really rude. It's just like, I can't deal. And so, because we're multitasking, like if you're a reporter, you're looking at Twitter, you're writing a story, you're editing stuff and all this other thing, and I can multitask, I can look at my emails and do all that other stuff, but when I'm on the phone, I'm stuck, and I can't do anything else, so it's super annoying. Like there's some reporters that love using the phone, most, I don't know them. So, and then the other thing, and probably the most important thing when you're pitching is it newsworthy? So this is different from the source thing, but if you're pitching a product or something going on in your company, is it newsworthy? Like, would you read about this in the news? Like, would you see, like I just launched a widget, and let's say you're a t-shirt company, and I just launched a new t-shirt. Would Business Insider write about you creating a new t-shirt? Probably not. So it needs to be newsworthy. and it needs to have some sort of news peg. So one other thing though, is it shocking or controversial? If it is, you probably have a good press, like thing to go with the press. And has anybody heard of the Carrot dating app? Anybody? Okay, well this guy made the weirdest, worst app ever. It was basically like, it was Carrot dating app. Put out a carrot, you can bribe women to go on dates with you with dinner or cash or whatever. And so when this press release came into our newsroom, everybody was like, oh my God, this is great. Like, we gotta write about this one. Like, and it was all negative. Like, it was like, this guy has the worst, most sexist app in the world. So it was all over, Business Insider, Mashable, every tech site imaginable, writing about this. And the guy totally played the media like a fiddle, because that's exactly what he was going for. He loved the shock value, it gets free press, so that's another way you can kind of go about that. Carrot does not no longer exist, so I guess that's good. But yeah, so.
Newspeg. I'll talk Newspeg real quick. Newspegs can be many things. So holidays. My wife got a bunch of placements and appearances on the morning shows locally in Washington, D.C. on National Bubble Bath Day, right? Because morning shows love that crap, right? Right? So I was on freaking Fox, like Good Morning D.C. making bubble bars. I'm not making, you know, Manly Ranger, oh, I'm going to make bubble bath, you know, on TV, because that's what I do. But it was National Bubble Bath Day. It was a great hook, right? So know those little weird holidays or late. It's not going to go to Business Insider, but local morning shows eat that stuff up, right? They do. It's that happy stuff. Ma'am. It's got mic behind you.
Thank you.
Maybe you
So
should talk.
I do data analytics and analytical tracking for my clients. And when you're doing things like this, when you're sending out press releases, you're not appending UTM parameters to the link that you're asking them to link to. So how do you track the efforts the return on the efforts, and how do you quantify like whether or not this is worth your time?
Actually, you can, if you use bit.ly links. There you go. So if it masks, so if you're linking your website or whatever, you know, use a bit.ly link, you know, wrap your URL at, bit.ly. It gives, you know, that with like a little bit of extra code. So that's one way where you can do it. There are some reporters that are super security conscious that might not click on stuff like that, like me. I'm totally paranoid. I covered hackers for like 7 months, so I'm not clicking on a PDF ever. But that's totally, you can totally do that. And then also I would just add that we're going to talk about like after an interview, I'd rather have questions, but if somebody covers your company and they don't link to you, that doesn't mean they don't like you. It's as simple as emailing the reporter back and saying, hey, could you link me in your story? And most of them, except for like a few that have sort of rules, like the New York Times has some weird linking thing going on, but most of them will go right in their content management system and link you. So that's totally fine. But let's have, go ahead.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What I'm wondering is, I know you were in Okinawa for a while, and yet you've been on Fox, you've been on CNN, you've done some really amazing things. How did that happen? I mean, how do you promote yourself so that you can get on those shows and people ask you for your opinion?
Well, in my case, it came down to my story. In 2014, I received the Military Spouse of the Year award. So that kind of catapulted me into the media scene where I was able to appear on the Today Show and Fox and Friends and so forth. So it was really about my story. It was about my family relocating to another country. We had a thriving retail business before we left to move overseas. We were primarily online, got to Okinawa, had to shut our business down for 6 months because of all of the restrictions on how you can and can't operate a business. Then we realized the only way we can continue business is if we were to land a short-term contract with AFES. So we did. We opened our first brick and mortar overseas in the Camp Foster concession mall in Okinawa, Japan. So that was my story. I was able to continue my business and take it wherever we were going to PCS. And that was the story that I shared and inspired other spouses to do the same thing.
I think with that too is you start out with something smaller, like a smaller news outlet. There's like a Tampa Bay area outlet called Bay News 9 that I was in for as a GI Bill expert. This is even before Duffel Blog. So they interviewed me and I got on that. I think it was an on camera. And then you can use that to approach other reporters. You can say hey, I have experience in this topic. You may have seen me. You probably haven't, but you may have seen me at Bay News 9. And kind of go from there. And also, you should put all that stuff on your website. Yep. You have a personal website that has your news hits. That's something that a reporter will go to and understand, because you're building credibility in the space. So it's a little harder for someone that we don't know to trust. We need to make sure that you're not if you're a veteran, you're not stolen valor and all this other stuff. So if we look at a link that Business Insider talked about you and you were quoted in the New York Times, then I don't really need to worry so much about figuring out if you're a legit person. I can just email you and say, hey, let's talk. So, you had a question.
Kind of touch on the same thing. So, do you self-promote yourself when you have those accomplishments? For reporters, do you self-promote yourself as you reach out to them and say, this is what I've accomplished, so you should interview me, so to say? Or do they come find you because of other publicity you have for, say, your title, even for Military Spouse
I
of the
think it's
Year?
a mixture. In my case, it's been a mixture of both. It just really depends on the story. So like he said, you want to be mindful of those awareness type days. I had a grand opening last year. So Bianca's sitting in the audience. So I actually hired Bianca to do the PR for my grand opening. And because of my previous story and me relocating back to Jacksonville, which is actually where I met my husband 16 years ago. So that was also part of the story of coming back to Jacksonville, relocating my business to Jacksonville, hiring military spouses, selling military spouse veteran brands. That was all part of my story. So we were able to pitch to different media outlets, and some actually came to us as well. And we did a combination of, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Press releases equal 12 media interviews.
yes, in about 4 weeks, and that was print and broadcast. So it's okay to brag on yourself too.
Can I add? Yeah. It doesn't happen magically. Josh had a great pointer, Josh Elledge's piece earlier, so you're going to have to go get it. And I can't tell you how often I have clients like, well, Fred, I know I'm a 50-time combat veteran, and I lost 2 of my legs, and I had to add 1 extra, and I'm a Ranger, but, let's just make it about the organization. It's like, yeah, no. Love, nothing but love, General. That's awesome, but you're the story. And if you want your obscure nonprofit that does something obscure for, fishing for marlins for veterans, it's awesome, boss. I love it, but you're the freaking story, So it is what it is. They want a human story. We don't tell stories about organizations. You know what I'm saying? It's you. And you've got a story. Y'all got stories. I mean, I've been talking to you for 2 days or 3, everybody's got a story. I used to say when I was in the Army, my last job in the Army, I ran the Army's news desk to defense media activity. So I had Soldiers Magazine, the Army website, Army social media. I was the guy in charge of all that. And it was funny, when I first got there out of grad school, they'd bring me like, hey, sir, look at this story on CNN about this soldier. We should do a story about that. I'm like, it's on CNN. It's not news. Like, no, it's news. Like, no, it's not new because it's on CNN. I don't think you understand what we're talking about. I said, there's 2 million soldiers in the United States Army, 1.5 million wives and families. Get me their damn story, right? That somebody else didn't tell already. You've got a story. Figure out what it is. Find the peg. My wife makes bath bombs. On National Bubble Bath Day, we did a story. You know what I'm saying? She moved back to Jacksonville. She's the Military Spouse of the Year. That's news. You see what I'm saying? Figure what that is. And go through and find your story, and you'll have better luck. I mean, would you agree, Bianca? I mean, you do this better than I do. And I think that's where I see a lot of failing is, I got to be humble. Screw that. You can be humble and broke. Let's be honest, right? I would rather be, a little bit boastful and have some money in the bank. I mean, come on. So that's what I tell people all the time. They're not going to tell a story about your organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there's one, this is actually one area where if you're looking for that influencer route, like trying to be quoted in different places, it actually is sometimes, I don't know, to actually reach out to a PR person to do this for you, like if you are a military spouse and you write about, moving from base to, I don't know, something like you have an expertise in the military spouse arena. Well, reporters are doing, human interest pieces or like writing about transition or moving or something, and they're like, okay, I need a military spouse. Where do I go? Help a reporter out is a good one, of course. And then the other one is guys like Fred are proactive, and so something happens in the news, like let's say Veterans Day comes up. PR people are sending emails to specific reporters and saying, look, I've got this person, his name's Paul Szoldra, he knows about the GI Bill, he knows about Veterans Day, he'd love to talk to you on this topic, here's where he was before, and you're like teeing it up. You're like, here's the ball, and the reporter's like, okay, great, I got someone now. So, sometimes that's worth going after, going for a PR person to like actually, manage it for you.
And different PR people do different things. I am not my wife's PR person because I don't know squat about retail. She does. I don't. I don't do retail. I do veterans and military family stuff. We joke about it all the time. We give speeches. We talk about how I got fired as my wife's PR person. Because I don't know the bath industry. It's not my jam. Bianca's probably better at that than I. There's different skill sets within our community, just like reporters. So I shop around a little bit. Our feelings won't be hurt if we're not the right fit. It's a very personal relationship. You got to find the person that fits for you. There are pros though, and the wonderful thing with this is this. How many PR firms are here? It's like all of them. And you know what? We all do different things. So find the right fit for you that works and that knows your industry, and it'll save you a lot of pain. My wife is hiring a woman out of Richmond who's amazing, and I couldn't even compete with her. Thank you. We'll go in the back. Go Bianca, and then, you got somebody over there. All right, let's go to questions. Let's stop talking. There, and then there, and then there.
I just want, how do we, and I apologize if you already kind of spoke to this, how do we tell if the reporter that we're talking to is legitimate?
Well, it just depends on if you look at the place that they're reporting on, so if it's Business Insider, are you asking like if they reach out to you?
Yeah, like I know that, sorry, I'm trying to talk without mic. I know that like if someone, it's too easy to Google someone and have them say, oh yeah, I wrote for this, but in your point earlier about people using syndicated content, what if the person who's reporting is not like, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're reaching out and they're like, oh, hey, I really want to do this story, but they're not someone, how do we tell? Is there a way, like a vetting system, kind of like how we have ID Me for, they use it for like vet ticks and stuff. You can tell if someone you're talking to is really a veteran. Is there a way to tell someone's like a real reporter if they're just like a guy who has a YouTube channel, he's trying to get off the ground and wants to use my story? Yeah. And that is not a like out of my ass example that actually happened. So I just wanted to see I can.
You hit on it. It's Google. Every legitimate news organization is gonna probably include a bio of that reporter. So if you Google Paul Szoldra, you'll find the Business Insider author page, and you can't fake that. That's there. Pretty much everyone has it. You can also look at their old stories. So if you Google someone and they said, I'm a reporter and I'm reaching out to you, and they don't have any old stories, then they're probably not worth talking to. So it's as simple as doing a Google search. And
we see a lot. Get a reporter a call and said, this is a story for Rolling Stone. Like, oh my God, Rolling Stone, I'm so pumped. And then you find out it's a story they're pitching to Rolling Stone. They're a freelancer, right? And that can go both ways. It may work, but you may put in what's your most valuable thing as a owner of a business or a mother, okay, right? Or a mother or any, right, time. So you could burn a lot of time on his story pitch for Rolling Stone that's never going to get printed. We've seen that a few times where I warn clients off of that. But, go with your gut. Your gut usually right.
I have a different policy. I will do everything. If somebody reached out to me and they're like, I have this podcast and it has 250 people on it, downloads, I'm like, great, I'll do the podcast. Awesome.
Josh said that earlier. Josh was like, hey, it's a great place to start.
Any opportunity, be the yes person. It's almost like if you have a friend and they're inviting you out to, and you're like, no, I got the kids, I can't go. No, say yes, because after a while, they're just not going to reach out. And it's the same with reporters. If you just say yes to every opportunity and, you build yourself up, and then you get to the point where you're getting quoted in, the New York Times, well, then at that point, then you could probably say I'm not gonna talk to the podcast guy. I will. But
and the last note on that, anything printed about you can go on your social media. can go on your website. So I just got a story done in the Introducer magazine. Oh man, I'm so pumped. The Introducer magazine. Never freaking heard of it. You know why? It didn't exist last month. and believe it or not, it's on go on my LinkedIn. I'm in the Introducer magazine. And it was about a half-hour interview, and it's like a PDF on LinkedIn, but hey, I'm going to flog the crap out of that on my Twitter. So I guess I'm living proof of, screw it, just take it. Question back here.
Thank you. So my question is about when you're dealing with reporters, how do you frame the story that you want to tell? Because they also have an agenda and what they want to tell. For example, I was being interviewed by a local reporter for this military's magazine, and they wanted to do, for November, the military spouse, how sad she is, how alone, how sex deprived. And that goes every single question. But the story that I want to tell is that military spouses are empowered, they have a wonderful community, they're business owners. And so I just had to constantly turn every question around. I was like, no, I really wasn't that sad when my husband was gone because I can work on my business more. Do you guys have any advice for people about that who face that?
No, I think you handle it perfectly. I think you handle it perfectly. It's about spinning your answer. They asked you a question that you didn't like, but you gave the answer that you wanted them to report. So it's all about how you answered that question. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, it's the pivot.
Answer the question you want to answer.
But also goes into practicing. So you should have talking points ready to go, like what your things that you want to get out to this reporter. I mean, the bottom line is the reporter's going to interview for let's say 30 minutes. They're going to use one quote. They're looking for that one quote. And so they keep asking you the same question over and over and over again, and they're trying to get it. Throw them a little bone with yeah, there are some military spouses that are, sad, but the vast majority of military spouses are empowered and doing really great, powerful things. You gave them that little thing that they can quote, but you also got what you wanted to say.
You ask the question you want to answer. We tell clients all the time. It's you answer the question that you want to answer. And if it's not the right question, then give them the question.
Fred just said, be a politician.
Yeah.
Just be a politician.
But by the same token, it's your story. You own your story. And you're going to get that. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to happen. I mean, there's the most sinking feeling I always have, especially when I was in the Army and I was a spokesman for training the Iraqis. It was awesome. Easy story to tell. The most sinking thing was giving said interview in the New York Times and then waiting the 24 hours for it to be printed, right? I mean, talk about sleepless nights, right? And I like the New York Times. Just saying, what did I say crazy? I'm the guy that declared the war lost in 2005. Look it up. That was fun. Going home to my mom's funeral, that was great. Front page of the paper. So you do control your narrative. But you're also hearing, what I'm hearing is a story, probably a reporter had a story and they needed a quote. We see a lot with our clients. A good example is, I won't name it, a big nonprofit, where they had a lot, they said, we get so much press, Fred. And we are Scout Insight, Lauren's division. We'll do the data, we do research in our media. And you'll find it's really like a story about broken military families. And they just need military wife quote. Does that make sense? So you take that call thinking, this would be a great story. It's like, no, the story's written, you've got a quote. See what I'm saying? So it's different than when you're pitching a story or telling your own. So be wary of that. They're just trying to fill a space, and they know you, whatever. You see that quite a lot. You see a lot with the local story. After the Las Vegas shooting, our local paper's like, was anyone from the local area in Las Vegas? And they literally interviewed some asshole who was literally just gambling in Las Vegas and knew nothing about the shooting because he was drunk off his ass. And, oh man, it was crazy once I came out at dawn. It was that local angle, So be wary of that because that could be the situation. Bianca. Oh,
Last
shoot.
one.
This plan.
Last
I know.
one.
I saw it. I got it.
I think we had one right here.
Britt, last one.
Oh.
All right, so my question is about PR in a different way. So I write for different publications, so I need the publications to be interested in my pitches, I need brands to want me to write for them, and I need sources to be willing to talk to me. In a divisive current political climate, how do I balance, I did an interview with Ivanka Trump, I pissed off half of the people I'm connected to, but I might need to go back to them later on for an interview or something. So how do you balance your personal opinions of what's going on in the world and doing professional opportunities like getting to interview the current administration? So how do you handle the political climate when you want to work with brands, when you want to work with people, when you want to keep a following?
I think it's just about being fair. So, if you're interviewing Ivanka Trump, you're quoting her correctly, and you're being nice and like getting her side. And if she says something wrong, you would note that, just like as a journalist would. But just all about being fair. So if you're a fair person, I really like Jake Tapper from CNN, and Jake Tapper covered, in my opinion, he covered the Obama administration. He covered the Bush administration, the Obama administration the exact same way, and he covers the Trump administration exactly the same way. A lot of people look at Jake Tapper and they're like, oh, he's sticking it to Trump, like he's really on the side of the resistance. And he's just doing exactly what he did like 5 years ago, and people just didn't notice.
I find, though, that you can be as straightforward with facts, and people, depending on their political leaning, will still get angry at you, and that might affect professionally.
Never read the comments. Yeah.
That's 2017. I mean, I'd love to say it's not the case, but that's our environment.
Everyone has something to say about what you like and what you don't like.
Who has personal opinions about what happens in the news.
It is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. We fought that at ScoutComms. And if you read my Twitter feed, you probably know I have an opinion. And we've agonized. I mean, my team's come to me and said, Fred, shut the hell up. What? I'm not tweeting. But by the same token, as a PR person, we work very closely, right? You're going to know us. You're going to know our position on things. And I can't hide that. I figured that out about 5 years ago in this business. We had some clients, it just isn't a good fit, and they always fall apart. So it is what it is. This is where I stand, and we're going to have a relationship, and if it works, you're going to know that, and you're cool with it. If it doesn't work anyway, you're going to figure out eventually it's not going to work. So we've been very transparent about who we are as a firm. If you read the Scout Report, I recommend you read the Scout Report. We have very strong opinions about positions. It's very unusual for a PR firm, but it's worked for us. We're still in business. I'm not a multi-bazillionaire, but we got some good stuff going on. But I just think in the nature of our business, you work so close to people, it is what it is. You're going to have an opinion, and you can't hide that. And the people who try to hide it, one, you're miserable, two, why get up every day? So that's just my approach. I mean, I probably should shut up more than I do, but it is what it is. I'm kind of a grump. Angry veteran. I promise Lakesha last comment.
So my experience as a business owner and getting involved in politics or not, I was at the same event that Bianca was at a couple of weeks ago with Ivanka Trump and Kellyanne Conway, and they came to Camp Lejeune, and we did a panel about military spouse employment, underemployment. And we got some comments about, well, why would you participate in that? And why would you want to, show up for that? Well, decisions are made by those who show up. And whether you are a fan or not a fan, don't be a fool either. For us, or for myself, it was all about the mission, and it is creating a solution to the problem that most military spouses face, which is employment. And I want to be a part of that solution. So I showed up to voice my opinion and what I thought the solution could be to solve that problem. So that's my
What a great nugget. Don't be a fool, show up. Thank you so much, the incredible panel. Can we just thank them? Wonderful. Thank you guys so much.